Hello, I'm Professor Good, and in this video, I will be going over the syllabus for Biology 110, Life Science, and Online Anytime section. The beginning of the syllabus, you can see my information, things like my email address, which is agood@icc.edu, my location for my office on the East Peoria campus, and my phone number. This syllabus is going to provide information to you and act as a contract for this course. I'm going to hit the highlights and talk about the main topics that you will need to know for being a success. This is an online anytime course, which means there is no on-campus attendance for the lecture portion. However, this is a lab science, therefore you will be completing the lab portion of the course in person on campus. Please check your schedule to know when and what days you have a lab section. Lab is going to meet once a week, and it is 25% of your course grade. I will get your lab grade from your lab instructor at the end of the semester, and you will have a separate Canvas site for the lab portion of the course. At the end of the semester, I will then combine your lecture and lab grade to calculate your overall course grade. My office hours, as mentioned, are located on the East Peoria campus in room 321E. For this particular semester, my office hours are Mondays and Wednesdays. If you're not in the fall section, then please check the current syllabus for my office hours. When you're sending an email or you're trying to make an appointment with me, please provide as much information as possible. If you're unable to attend my office hours and you would like to see me in person, we can set up another time or we can meet virtually via Zoom. I teach a variety of classes such as this class, microbiology, and anatomy and physiology. Therefore, I have many students. So if you email me a question, please provide as much information as possible. Things like your name, the course, which is Biology 110, and your question. Since we're in an academic setting, it's also important to use proper grammar, punctuation, complete sentences, and not texting or abbreviations. As an ICC policy, I can only correspond with you using your ICC email address. This course is going to look at a variety of topics, things such as evolution, genetics, cellular biology, and ecology. We also will touch on how each of these different topics impacts your life. The course level outcomes are the different topics that we will be discussing throughout the semester. The textbook seen here is going to be digitally distributed to you. So what that means is the text will be located on the Canvas site. On the left side of Canvas, you will see a tab that says McGraw-Hill Connect. This is the location of the textbook. It is a digital or e-text that will automatically be charged to your ICC bill. You will see this charge show up around the refund date. And if it's the fall semester, this is early September, and for a spring semester, this is typically about the beginning of February. So in other words, you do not have to purchase a textbook separately from the bookstore. If you're someone that likes a physical copy of the book, you can purchase the loose leaf version from either McGraw-Hill directly or from the ICC bookstore. Since we're not meeting in person for the lecture, the attendance policy is that you must log in and complete assignments at least once per week to demonstrate attendance. In other words, log into the Canvas site. All of the information for this course will be distributed through Canvas. A never attender is someone who never logs on or does an assignment within the first 5 days of the start of the course. A non-attender is described or defined as a student who was participating but does not log in or communicate with me for 7 consecutive days. I typically will reach out to you if you've stopped attending to see if there's an issue or if you have questions. If you do not respond or I don't get any feedback, then if it has been 7 days or more, I may academically withdraw you from the course. This is actually for your benefit, so you would receive a W on your transcript with withdrawal versus just receiving a failing grade. There are many types of assignments on the lecture portion of the course. These include Nearpod, homework assignments, lesson quizzes, a few discussions, and some smart books and exams. You should complete the assignments after watching and listening to the Nearpods, which I will explain a little later. At the end of the semester, I drop the one lowest quiz score. So in other words, if there's one that you didn't do so great on, or if you forgot to take it, I will drop the lowest. I highly recommend that you review quizzes and exams after you have taken them. You can only review them 1 hour after the due date. So if you take a quiz and you want to know what you missed, and the quiz is due, for example, let's say on a Friday, you can review it 1 hour after that due date. So let's say Saturday morning. I use the same pool of questions for quizzes that I use for exams. So let's say, for example, quiz 1 has a pool of 30 questions, and you're going to get 10 of those questions. I use that same pool of 30 questions for the exams. So it is possible you may see questions again on the exams. So by reviewing your quizzes after you take them, you can study and know what you got right, and more importantly, what you got wrong, so you don't get it wrong again. The material for this course will be presented using something called Nearpod. Nearpod is a free program that's going to be integrated directly into Canvas. You will click on the Nearpod assignment and it will redirect you to Nearpod. Once in Nearpod, what you will see is basically slide presentations that are narrated. I have narrated all of the slides and I have created all of the slides. So this is the lecture material. This is the #1 resource that you should use to study for tests and quizzes. Within the Nearpod, I have examples, analogies, activities, helpful hints. So by listening to the Nearpod and taking notes, of which there are corresponding notes on Canvas, which I highly recommend that you either print them out or you digitally fill in the answers. So in other words, within the Canvas site, it'll say lecture notes. And there are missing blanks, and the missing blank answers are found within the Nearpods. This is the same as sitting in the face-to-face class and taking notes. The Nearpods are graded 5 points per chapter, and in order to get all 5 points, you have to reach 100% completion. In other words, you got to answer all the parts. So within the Nearpod, there's embedded little quizzes, there's activities such as click and drags, or open-ended, so you're just going to write out the answer. For each incorrect answer, I'm going to deduct 0.1, and this is points, and that is because you have the ability for those multiple choice questions to answer the question. If you get it wrong, it will show you the right answer, and you can rewind or move that cursor back and change your answer to the correct answer. So there's no reason to get any questions wrong within those Nearpods. Method of assessment and student achievement basically says that I will be using exams and quizzes to see how you have mastered the concepts. So let's talk about exams. There are 5 exams total, 4 of which are unit exams, so basically over each particular section. The unit exams are open for 48 hours a minimum, and sometimes even earlier, before the due date. For the most part, with the exception of one, they're going to be due on Tuesdays. You have 75 questions. They're 100 points, so each question is worth a little over 1 point, and they are timed 80 minutes. You cannot start and stop the exams. Once you start, you have to finish that attempt. You only get 1 attempt. So even if you don't do well, that is your grade that's going to be recorded. I do not drop the lowest exam score. You're not allowed any resources during exams or quizzes, and I use something called Proctorio to proctor these particular exams, which I'll discuss later in this presentation. The best way to study for the exams and the quizzes is to use the lecture notes that correspond with the Nearpads. Find a quiet place while it's time to take your test, free of distraction with good internet access, and slowly work your way through each question. The final exam is comprehensive, meaning it covers the entire semester. It is 100 points. It's 100 questions, 150 points, and is timed. It also is going to use Proctorio. It will contain information from units 1 through 4. If you miss an exam, you're not feeling well, you had to work late, etc., you may use one ticket, which I'll explain, for one exam. That will allow you a 48-hour extension to take or complete your exam. You can only use one ticket for an exam. So let's say you forget exam 2 and you already had forgotten exam 1. That score is then a 0. If you continue to miss exams, I typically will send you an email and advise you to drop the course. So I understand that life happens and sometimes, things are just out of your control. So every student at the beginning of the semester has what are called tickets. And what the tickets allow you to do is provide an extension for one assignment. So you can use tickets for homeworks, Nearpads, quizzes, etc. And again, you can only use one ticket for one exam. And what the tickets provide is a 48-hour extension from the original due date. So if something is due on a Wednesday and you send me an email on, let's say, Thursday morning, be like, I overslept or whatever that is, and I forgot to take or complete the homework, can I use a ticket? The answer is yes, as long as you haven't used any yet. And you have 48 hours from the due date. So the due date was Wednesday, now it's due on Friday. Once a ticket has been used, you have a total of 3. So once you used all 3, then any other assignments are going to be zeros. Or to use a ticket, you're just going to send me an email and say, I'd like to use a ticket. I will open the assignment and provide the extension. So you should be able to check grades at any time during the semester on Canvas. So you're going to go into the grade section on Canvas, and this will tell you your lecture grade. We use a straight 90, 80, 60, 70, etc. 10-point grading scale. And remember, lecture is 75% and lab is 25%. So at the end of the semester, I will add up your lecture and lab grade, which will give you your overall course grade. If assignments aren't submitted on time, the scores are 0 unless you are able to have tickets, meaning if you haven't used all your tickets. All grades are final, so after the last day of classes, no extra credit, no late assignments. So once the class is over, whatever grade you have is the grade that you have. I round up at 0.5 or higher. So if you have an 89.5, awesome, that's an A. If you have an 89.4, that's still a great grade. However, that would be a B. Academic integrity and misconduct basically is almost a page to say, please do not cheat in order to ensure that cheating does not occur for those exams and quizzes. I will use Proctorio, which is a software program that's embedded into Connect. So when you log on to do a test or quiz only, you will have a prompt of a pre-check. I recommend that you either use Microsoft Edge or Chrome as your browser. Whichever one you use the most, use the opposite one for Proctorio. So for example, if you're somebody that uses Chrome all the time, for your tests and quizzes, use Edge, because whichever one you kind of use all the time, it gets bogged down and it doesn't like to work so well. So what Proctorio is going to do is when you're taking those exams and quizzes, it's going to monitor or record your face. So your entire face must be showing, not just your forehead, not just your chin. I need to see your eyes specifically. And it's going to monitor the audio around you. You are not allowed any resources for those tests and quizzes. We'll talk about the final a little bit at the end of the semester. I do let you use one little thing, but it's only on the final. So for all the exams, for all of the quizzes, except for the final, You can only use your brain. No cell phones, no notes, no study guides, no people in the room chatting with you, etc. If those things occur, it's considered cheating. And if I see something that looks suspicious, typically the first time, I will email you and say something was weird during your video that I saw of, let's say, that quiz 2. I'm going to give you a 0 for that assignment and complete what's called a student of concern form. And then if there's any repeated offenses, you will more than likely get a 0 in the course. And again, you'll have a meeting with the dean. So just make sure that you're studying for those quizzes so that you're confident and you're not cheating. The use of AI basically says, for this particular course, everything that you provide to me needs to be your own work. So you can read that great big paragraph, but it basically says you cannot use any AI-generated information. Everything you need for this course is located on Canvas, and there's a separate tutorial or video on Canvas, which you probably already watched. My role in the course is to act as a guide to get you through the course. So I will be checking emails daily. I will be looking at Canvas to see how you're progressing. I'll kind of reach out to you if I feel like you're struggling. I grade things as needed. So the main thing they need to grade are the Nearpods, and I typically grade those within a day or so of when the due date is. If you've never taken an online course, this may be a little overwhelming, which I understand. And if you have taken an online course, but you've not taken a science online course, this may feel like a lot more work. That is because this course has a lecture and a lab component. So the lab component you will be doing in person in the lab on campus, and you will have a lab instructor to guide you through. But for the lecture portion, I will be your guide, so to speak. And so if we were meeting face-to-face for lecture, we would be meeting for 3 hours a week. So it's going to take you a little bit of time to work through those Nearpods. It's the same information that I would lecture if I was in person. And then you still need to devote some time to study and to complete those assignments. So this is not a class that you can, just do in about an hour a week. You're going to need to devote some time. As previously mentioned, the only email address I can use is your ICC email, and to be successful, you need a laptop or desktop computer. Tablets, Chromebooks, phones, PlayStations, none of those are going to be compatible with the assignment. So you need a real computer with good internet access. If you have technical issues, here are some tips, and here are some numbers and email sites to get to or click on. I'm a biologist. I have a master's in biology, not in computer technology. So literally, here is the list that I will send you if you're having technical issues. So go through this checklist. You can obviously reach out to me, but I may or may not be able to help you quickly. So I may just redirect you to either McGraw-Hill or Proctorio. All right, next is kind of a snapshot of the different kinds of assignments. Nearpod, again, is the #1 resource for lecture. And this basically goes through what I've already talked about. So I'm going to kind of scroll down a little bit. Nearpods and the homeworks are due on Wednesdays. So a homework is going to be a type of assignment that will check your mastery. So in other words, how well do you know the material that you went through in the Nearpod? It's kind of like a practice. And then the smart books are what we call an adaptive assignment. So the smart books, you've read the textbook. Remember, you do have a textbook. It's just a digital book. And it's going to give you what I call like a deck of cards. And the more questions you get right, then the faster you'll get to that deck. And the more questions you get wrong, then the slower you'll get to that deck. I only assign smart books for graded assignments for the first unit. However, smart books are available for all the units, but as practice. So those are also due on Wednesday. So basically all the lecture content, the Nearpod, the homework, if there is a smart book, those are all due on Wednesdays at 11:59. They are not timed. You can go back in and do them as many times as you want before the due date. The Nearpods are 5 points per chapter. The homeworks are 3 points per chapter. And the Smart Books are also 3 points per chapter for that Unit 1. Then, when we get to kind of the mastery of your knowledge, so what did you actually learn? We have the lesson quizzes, which is basically a lecture quiz, and then the unit exams. So the lesson quizzes are available 1 week before the due date. They're always due on Fridays at 11:59. They are 10 questions, 10 minutes, 1 attempt, and they're also located on Connect, which you will access through Canvas. There is 1 per lesson, meaning 1 per, typically 1 per week, 10 points, and I will drop the lowest at the end of the semester. Exams will open on Fridays, and these are the unit exams. They're due on Tuesdays. There are 75 questions, 80 minutes, 1 attempt, also located on Connect, and 100 points each with the exception of the final. And I do not drop any exam grades. All right, so you may be feeling a little overwhelmed. What did I get myself into? This feels like a lot. The first few weeks are a little overwhelming, and then typically once you get into the groove, you're good. So just kind of take a breath. So my recommendation is to print the last few pages of this document because we're going to get there, but that's where the schedule is. Make sure your email's working, make sure your Canvas site is working and all the settings are the way you want them. And then you're going to start on Canvas where it says, start here. And this is going to contain the syllabus, which I'm going over with you, as all kinds of other resources. It'll have the orientation modules, so it will be very useful. The best way to complete a lesson is in the order that I have here. So listen and complete the Nearpods, read the textbook. You can use that doing the Smart Books, do the homework, and then check your mastery, which is by doing the quizzes. Best practices or study tips. The number one thing that students don't want to do, which if you just listen to me, I promise I know what I'm talking about. It will help you and make your life so much easier, is to do a little bit every single day. Don't wait till that Wednesday to do all the assignments. Don't wait till Fridays to take the quiz. They're open a week ahead of time, if not more. So go in and study a little bit every day. Make sure you're prepared before you take the quizzes. You will need your photo ID for the quizzes and exams, so make sure you have that ready also. Okay, so the last couple pages are basically the schedule. I would actually print these out and stick them somewhere just so that way you have, kind of a copy staring you in the face as a reminder. So the first set is just this orientation material. So that's due on a Wednesday, and this, which you're already watching, this Nearpod is 10 points. And then we've got the orientation for Proctorio. It's a little quiz. Basically, you're going to watch a video and then answer 10 questions over Proctorio. It's just to make sure Proctorio is working for you. The first week only, I have all the lecture stuff due on a Sunday to give you a little bit more time to get acclimated into how the class works. So that includes a Nearpod, a Smart Book, a homework, and then the quiz. Typically, those will be broken up into 2 different days, but again, that first week, I give you a little extra time. So we've got the day of the week, as far as what the week is, the lesson number, the chapter topics, the chapter sections. This will be kind of as we go down the list. So Wednesdays are all the lecture content days, and then Fridays are going to be the quiz days. But again, you can do them early. You don't have to wait till the day of. I only have probably 1, maybe 2, but probably just the 1 discussion board kind of at the beginning, just to kind of get familiar with who you are. And you can get familiar with your classmates. So there will not be a bunch of discussion boards throughout the semester. So this is pretty much the schedule as we progress through. So Wednesdays, Nearpod Smart Book homework, and then quiz. And then once we get to Unit 2, the Smart Books go away. Again, still can use them, but they're just for practice. They're not graded. So exams are listed here. They're going to open typically on a Friday. They're due on a Tuesday. So now the schedule will be Wednesdays are Nearpod and homework, so 1 less assignment, and then the quizzes are on Fridays. So same pattern, exams, and this will all be on announcements on Canvas also. So same pattern, continuing through, same thing. A few dates to note: November 16th is the last day of the draw. And then here's one thing that's a little different. December 8th, which is a Sunday. That is exam 4. So we typically don't have exams due on Sundays, but to kind of squeeze everything in, you are going to have something due. What you're going to notice is the week of Thanksgiving, which is right here in between these two, there are no assignments. So you can go ahead and get started on this early. Yes, I know, early. And get that done so that way you're prepared. So in other words, you don't, again, have to wait. So then the final exam is due Thursday, December 12th. And then we have a total number of points. So all of these columns, you can fill in your points that you can fill in over here. Okay, just about done. So the last couple pages, this is just showing the breakdown of all the content. There's all the lecture topics, which I will cover. And then here's all the lab topics, which you will cover in lab. And the very end is just some helpful links. So some things that if you're kind of struggling, a lot of these are on Canvas. Here's some ways to get some help, and I have a little description for each. So I hope that was helpful on how the course works and the syllabus.